Good afternoon, guys. Good, thank you for being here. All right, so getting back to work today, coming off of obviously a disappointing night on Friday. We didn't coach well enough or play well enough or execute well enough. And had a chance to certainly get with our players, our entire staff, assess it, make the corrections and move forward and get all our focus on our opponent this week in Stanford. So questions, please.
Mario, obviously, Louisville held you guys in check in the run game. Just what adjustments, and going back and watching it on film, what adjustments do you think you guys need to make in that aspect of the game?
Well, I think the simplicity of coaching it better to execute at a higher level. All right, the devil's in the details, and it's we've been really good at running the football, and we've been a little bit off the last couple of weeks, and we need to get back to our ways in the form and the way that we do run the football, and that's with the principles of technique and fundamentals and pad level, and making sure we can get both downhill and outside by doing what we do.
Mario, you've mentioned about penalties and not shooting yourself in the foot. I think it's 15 pre-snap penalties the last 4 games. Just any common thread between them, and just what can you do to try to get the guys to do what they need to do?
Well, the common thread that it's hurt us. There's no question about that. They certainly they not only stalled drives, but they've created good field position for the opponent, which led to points on the other side as well. So that's where, in these games, the margins are really important, and the margins between winning and losing become smaller and smaller. And that's one where, we have not done a good enough job. I have not done a good enough job in getting us to reduce those, eliminate those. That's what you want, right? Reducing and eliminating pre-snap and post-snap penalties. Keep everything between the lines and snap to whistle. So the common thread is we just haven't done a good enough job.
How much do you expect opponents to copycat the rest of the way, copycat what Louisville tried to do to you guys on Friday night?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of it before in a couple previous years, and we've had better success. I think, our failure to execute falls on all of us, right? We win as a team, we lose as a team, but the details of execution, of hat position, hand placement, angles, leverage, details in protection routes, play calling, all the things that lead to success or not being successful, all that has to improve. The plan itself, we've seen all up, we've seen quarters, cover 3, man, we've seen it all, and we have had success, and we can and will have success, and to do so we have to prepare at the highest level and make sure we carry it over to game time.
When you look at Carson, just how has he been the couple days after the game, and just how do you expect or hope that he'll respond after the game on Friday?
Well, we've seen him handle it very professionally, certainly, and I make sure that every player and every staff member knows that we win together and we lose together. Finger pointing won't exist here. It's besides making these guys better football players, you have to make them better men, better people. And in life, that is a hard, cold lesson that you have to learn. When things don't go well and everything's coming down and people want to point at you, you man up, you get your butt off the ground, you go right back to work. That's the expectation. That's all we've seen, and that's all we will see going forward.
In the same vein, there were some pundits and stuff on social media saying he, might have thrown, his teammates under the bus. It's not how I interpreted what he was saying, but it's how people have responded to clips of what he said after the game on Friday. Just how has he, been around the players the last couple of days? Like, how has he kind of handled that? Has he bothered with any of that? Have you talked to him about any of that?
I'm not, I wouldn't be aware or in tune with, just trying to digest your statement in terms of people under the bus. Again, that doesn't exist here because it's not part of the culture and just not allowed. It just has no place. But I think the entire team has complete clarity that every coach, every player, everybody takes this, every win and takes every loss together. There is no exception, and again, there is no blame or finger pointing.
Did you talk to Carson about his comments after the game that he's talking about?
Just like I mentioned there, that's something that's very new to me, and you bringing that up. But there is no hint or inkling of any blame being passed around to anybody in our room, our locker room, or our building.
I think Akeem Mesidor missed a few plays with a foot thing in the middle of the game on Friday. Just how's he done? Is everything okay with him? Like, what's going on with him there?
Yeah, he's done pretty well. Obviously, it was tough for him to finish the game. He was a little bit banged up, but he seems to be on track to be healing fine.
with Stanford, the first time you guys are playing them, just with the with the conference expansion, just getting new matches. We wanted just the thoughts on that and just what stands out about Stanford.
Well, I think they've been through a lot as a program with the change and whatnot and coaching and all the things that are going on. And I think they've done a great job at really finding their way and schematically and from a personnel standpoint, putting guys in position to play really, really well. And I think it showed on Saturday against Florida State, with them holding one of the best offenses in the country to 13 points and playing a really physical brand of football, knocking a quarterback out the game. Really explosive in the run game, really good on third down, really good on third down defense and red zone defense as well. And schematically, you could tell that their experience as pros and having been in the pros is really starting to carry over and bleed into what they do schematically. They certainly pose, besides being a physical team that really plays hard, they do enough stuff schematically where you really have to prepare well.
With the defense, I know I think it's 7 turnovers on offense for you guys, but the defensive yards after that, I don't think you guys have given up a point off turnovers yet. Can you speak to just the defense's ability to, when a mistake does happen, a turnover does happen, that they've been able to step up and make sure they at least minimize the damage against?
Yeah, it was very much a big part of today's team presentation. In the margins, meaning hitting yardage, right, having to punt the ball, not covering it well, and being subjected to a self-inflicted penalty and the yards that go with that and where the ball is placed when the opponent gets the ball, how that leads to points, right? Those are hidden yardage points. Those are the margins. Well, on the flip side, there's 3 turnovers offensively that lead to no points due to the defense's, ability to rise up and play really good football. That's impressive stuff. That's going to lead us to bigger and greater accomplishments on game day. And certainly stuff that we have to continue to build upon. And if you talk to the defensive guys, we'll talk about the details that have to be done, the swarm, the violence and the physicality, but certainly a lot of bright spots as well on defense.
Marty, do you feel in general that you guys need to make changes offensively and defensively because of the result of last game? Or do you look back of what went well in those first 5 games that that you can just kind of go off of that and things did go well there? Essentially weighing the overreaction or responding to the result that you just had?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's the same team, we lost on Saturday, but it's the same team that won 5 games against, arguably the toughest out-of-conference schedule, right, this year in college football. So where are the changes? It's more improvements and obviously presenting our players with schematical technique, fundamental advantages and answers to help us execute at a higher level, right? That comes with everybody having more mental intensity and energy, but collectively as a group, it's some of it is tweaking and some of it might be changing, but it's also improving and really doing things that we have done well, doing them well again, and not straying from that, not allowing us to get caught up in some of the things we mentioned earlier about the pre and post snap penalties, because those things do knock you off schedule and do kill drives, so I think it falls a little bit here and a little bit there.
The tackling by the defense, what's your assessment from Friday night?
We missed more tackles than usual. I think we're playing against some really good players. I think we can't lose sight of that. But I do think that our positioning and the details that go into our drops sometimes were off. And like we spoke about today, as a team, we've got to coach it better, we've got to teach it better, then we've got to execute it better. We weren't as precise in some of our positionings in our zones and whatnot, and we got to be better.
Hey, Mariano Saban calls it rat poison, but it's got to be more complicated than that. I mean, just the uneven performances that teams, not just Miami, teams in general, can have week to week. USC, Notre Dame ran for 305 yards against USC this past weekend. You guys shut down Notre Dame. You tackled well. The other night, not tackling well. Everything that went wrong on offense. The O-line had been great earlier in the year. Wasn't so great the other night. And Carson had been pretty good earlier in the year. Wasn't so great the other night. Is it more than just, psychological?
I think it's the reality of football. I think we all have to understand that college football is working its way more and more to being more like professional football, where more teams have really good players. And anyone that doesn't believe that is in for a surprise. Everybody has really good players, and now 5, 6, 7 weeks into the season, everybody has film. right? And everybody's talking to staffs that have played against you, and you're talking to staff that have played against your opponents, and they're talking to former staff members. You're getting every nugget of information you possibly can to create an advantage. That's the reality of it. So if there's a hole, there's something to be exposed, if there's something that you haven't quite corrected yet, you're going to see it. And if you ain't ready and if you ain't getting better at it, it's going to hurt you, you know? I think it's really important to point out that despite not being at our best and not playing to the standard, at the end of the day, we still have the ball in hand at the 31-yard line with 2 timeouts with a chance to tie or win the game. You know, so there's a positive in the fact that our players will play hard all the way to the end, that we can dig our way out of stuff. We obviously did too much in a negative way to dig ourselves all the way out, and we need to improve upon those things to get the result we want.
Mario, you touched on getting to the 31-yard line these last couple of days, a chance to review that or think more about the decision to throw. Was there anything that you guys would have done differently in hindsight now as opposed to, you know, keeping the ball on the ground?
That's a full throttle win the game situation. You're at the 31-yard line, you have 2 timeouts. It's a very safe call that did not work out that way.
Piggybacking on that, is that decision to throw the ball, is that something in a pivotal moment in a game like that? That's something Dawson runs by you, or does Dawson make the call?
It's part of the play call sheet. It's part of the play call sheet, and the call was made, and the call was not executed, and that falls on every coach and every player in the building.
In the same vein that you were talking about, like, you know, everyone has film on everyone at this point. That
Everyone,
kind of,
what, I'm sorry?
talk about like how everyone has film on everyone at this point in the
Correct.
season. Everyone,
Yeah.
you know, knows tendencies and everything. How much do you balance, you know, sticking with what works and has been working versus, like, you know, changing things up a little bit? Like, for example, like in the on the defensive side of the ball, like Y'all's pass rush has been getting home and doing very well all season. Louisville's able to neutralize that with their quick game, getting the ball out in like 2 seconds. So how much do you, I guess, change things around and try to adjust to teams that might do things like that versus just like keep doing what had worked for 5 weeks?
Well, I think that's too general of a question to give a blanket answer to. You know, when you say a team is going quick game and the ball is coming out in less than 2 seconds, right? How do you neutralize that? Well, it has to be in the form of coverage, right? In the form of a batted ball, right? If they're chipping on your defensive end with a tight end or keeping them home and using the back on the other side as well, well, then you got to get home in a couple different ways, and you've got to be able to hold up outside versus in cuts versus back shoulder fade, right? It's what you're willing to take away, you got to be willing to risk winning in one-on-one situations on the other side. So as the season goes on, and you know, as you study film, I know you do, is you've got to really dig into the cat and mouse game that goes in with that, so that so it's more than just a general, you know, got to do this or got to change. You always got to evolve as the season goes on. If you go in again and again with the exact same picture and that picture doesn't change, you're going to get your butt wired. They're going to wire you, right? So from the wrinkles to the compliments that go with it, you know, we've done a really good job up until this last game, but to in any way, shape, or form think that the University of Miami hasn't done a good job this year, I think would it doesn't fit. It doesn't. It's not. It doesn't make much sense to our process. We didn't play to the standard. We did not do our job. We didn't coach well enough. We didn't play well enough. We didn't execute well enough. And we've won 5 games. We lost 1 game, and we got to keep improving to make sure we get our best chance to go be 1-0 on this Saturday.
Just with that 1-0 mentality you've talked about for a long time now, that 1-0 mentality.
Right.
Is that even more of a point of emphasis now, and not to have the guys look too big picture on what needs to happen the rest of the year? Is that zeroed in?
I think I don't look at it that way. I would say it's never less of a point of emphasis. Does that make sense? You don't put degrees of value on a win and then lessen it versus other opponents. That would make, it would be illogical for our players to even try to fathom that concept. You don't put a degree, it's too disrespectful to football, it's too disrespectful to opponents. Every single opportunity has to be treated like the fight of your life. That's the only way to get the absolute best out of yourself. And that's our approach every single time. The bottom line is we didn't get the outcome that we wanted, okay? The processes must always improve and get better.
Going down 14,
Couple more.
14 early in the game,
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like that took you obviously out of the run game element, a little bit of the offense, or do you wish maybe you were a little more patient with the run game?
I don't think it ever takes it. I mean, 2 scores early in the game should never take you out of that, you know. I think when you put together a game plan and you see things throughout the course of the game, both on the iPad, communication upstairs in the box, everything is geared towards giving us the best chance to win. Every play call, there's not a single play call on a sheet by any coordinator that's a random guess. It doesn't exist. There's an answer to every coverage, every pressure that we're getting. What fits best versus bear Mike at a will fire, corner fire, right? Quarters, 0, all up, bluff, all up, bring it, all that stuff, you know? And so everything is very, very selectively chosen and placed on that call sheet. And the calls that were made were the ones that we felt at the time were the best to give our team the best chance to win.
Anything else, Coach?
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.